So you wanna be a game graphic designer, whether you wanna make graphics for your game or just thinking about starting one, but your graphics look like this, or even if you don't know how to make them, then this is the course for you. In this course, you will learn how to make professional and gorgeous different types of backgrounds quickly using Photoshop and only your mouse. First, we will start with a small introduction of Photoshop just for those who doesn't know how to use it. Then we will begin by making our first background using circles and very small techniques to understand how things work together. Next, we will move to a more advanced one, showing you more techniques and tricks to make our background alive and stand out from the others. Then we will make a different type of backgrounds, and of course I will be sharing with you all my hidden secrets along the way. There is a lot to cover in this course, so let's get started, shall we? In this first lecture, I'm going to teach you the simple tools in Photoshop that we're going to use in the beginning of the course, and along the way we will learn all the tools that you need to know to make your 2D backgrounds. So this is Photoshop. Of course, you need a canvas to work with, so let's go to File, New, and let's choose a 1920 pixels by 1080 pixels, which is a 1080p resolution, and let's hit Create. Mine have a gray background because I chose the gray background, but that doesn't really matter. So as you can see here, this is the section of our layers. All our background layers will be displayed here. This is the color section, and if you don't have it, just go to Window and choose Color. This is our tools, and this is some options in the top, and every tool, if we choose it, there is also some options for it. Our first tool is the Move tool, and as you can see here, it has the V key, which is a shortcut in your keyboard, so you need to learn all the hotkeys for every tool to make your work faster and easier. So if we click the V key, this is our Move tool. If we wanted to move our layer, we can't because this is our background. As you can see, it can't allow us. So if we convert it to a normal layer, it will be moved as you can see here. So what did really happen? It just disabled the lock icon that it was here. Now I lock it again and I can't move it. Alright. Let's now add our first layer. And let's move to the second tool, which is the rectangular marquee tool, which allows us to make selections. As you can see, this is a rectangular selection, but if you want a square selection, just hold the Shift key and it will make a perfect square selection. This selection we can either paint on top of it or just delete another layer. So how do we paint? Just let's go to the paint bucket tool, which has the G key, as you can see here. Let's choose any color and let's paint it. And there is this animation which tells you that this layer is selected. To deselect this layer, just click Ctrl D and it will be deselected. Now if we want to move it, just click the V key, which is the Move tool, and we can move it as we like. Now let's go and make another layer, and let's choose the elliptical marquee tool just by clicking the right button in your mouse. It allows us to make a circular-ish shape, and if we hold the Shift key, it will make a perfect circle. Let's choose, for example, another color. Let's choose the G key, which is the paint bucket tool, and let's paint it. Click Ctrl D to deselect it. and let's move it with the V key. As you can see, it's above our rectangular shape because the layer is above it. And if we want our rectangular to be above our circle, just click and move the rectangular layer up, and it will be above our circle. Let's move our circle and put it maybe here. Another option that we can do with our layers is by resizing them. So how do we do that? Just by clicking Ctrl T. We can resize our shape, and if we hold the Shift key, we can resize it as we want. We can also scale it, rotate it, warp it, flip it horizontal, and flip it vertical. We will learn that in the next lectures. And just click OK to save it. Alright, let's go back to our rectangular marquee tool, and let's click our rectangular shape, and let's make a simple selection, maybe just like that. And if we hit delete, it will delete our shape, and click Ctrl D to deselect it. Now let's go to the third tool, which is the lasso tool. The first one is the free-handed lasso, which allows us to draw anything, to make a selection also, as you can see here. Let's click Ctrl D to deselect it. We don't really use this tool very much, but the really one that we use it all the time is the second one, which is the polygon lasso tool. We can make very simple shapes with it, maybe some mountains, just like that, and we need to go to the first point to close the selection. And let's choose the G key. And now if we paint it with the G key, it will paint the same layer of our rectangle shape. And if we click Ctrl D to deselect it, and we want to move it with the V key, they will move together. We don't really want that, so let's go back. How do we go back and undo things? Just by clicking Ctrl Z, Ctrl Z again, Ctrl Z again, and let's make another layer. And now let's paint it with the G key, and it will paint. Click Ctrl D to deselect it, and let's move our rectangular shape above it. And the hotkey of this polygon lasso tool is the letter L. We can also make some different shapes, maybe a simple tree. As you can see here, let's make another layer. Choose the G key and let's paint it. Click Ctrl D to deselect it. And now let's make some shadows for this tree. So how do we make shadows that stick in our shape and doesn't go out of our layer? Just by making another layer and holding the Alt key, it will make a child for this layer. Now anything we do will be applied to our shape and it will never go out. So the second tool that we need is the gradient tool. So let's choose maybe a darker color. Let's choose the lasso tool with the letter L, and let's make some shapes like that. Now let's click the G key, which is the gradient tool, and let's paint it. Click Ctrl D to deselect it, and let's repeat the same process. As you can see, Also, you can make some shadows in the right corner, also in the bottom. Also, we can make another child layer. Let's hold the Alt key again, and now let's choose a white color, just like that. Let's make another one, and now this is the normal color to be applied in our layers, but if we want, we can choose another type of colors. I will choose the overlay, and it will make this glowing effect in our tree like the sun is hitting us. Now if we want to delete a part of our shape, just let's click the V key and let's select our sun and added this layer mask. This will allow us to delete anything in our shape without going out. So let's choose the gradient tool again, and let's just make a gradient. As you can see here, we can do so much effects with this tool. Also, if we want to add some effects, let's just go to the FX here. We can add so much effects. Maybe let's add a outer glow to our sun here. We can make the opacity higher and change all these settings. We can also add a drop shadow, but with a white color. Alright, let's hit OK now. And this is the effects of our layers. Now this is our sun layer. We need to convert it to a smart object so that we can move it and add any other effects along the way. And here, as you can see, there is some opacity that we can change to make our layer opacity increase and decrease if we want. Now if we want to duplicate a layer, just we need to click Ctrl J and it will duplicate our layer. Click the V key and let's move it. Now I'm gonna click Ctrl Z twice to delete this layer. And this is a shorter way to duplicate and move a layer in the same time, which is we need to hold the Alt key and just move it. Just like that, it will make a copy of our layer and move it in the same time. Also, there is many other tools that we will work with. There is also the brush tool that allows us to paint or draw anything we want. Let's make a new layer and we can draw anything or paint anything with this brush. Also, there is the eraser tool to erase our brush. So this is the basic introduction of Photoshop. There is a lot more to cover along the way. You will learn everything you need while working with me in the backgrounds. And don't worry, everything will be easy and clear. We will work step by step and you will eventually, by making many different types of backgrounds, you will be able to make a gorgeous background with just very simple tools and techniques that you will never find anywhere else. So I will see you inside the course. In this lecture, we're gonna make our first background using only circles and some simple colors. So let's make a new canvas by going to File, New, and let's choose a 1920 pixels by 1080 pixels. Choose the resolution to 300, 16-bit, and the background I choose gray, but it really doesn't matter. Let's hit Create. This is our background. For you, you can choose your own colors for your game, of course, to make your backgrounds. But if you want to follow with me with the same colors that I will be using, you can download them from the resources below. So when you download this color palette, just drag and drop it inside Photoshop like that. Hit enter. Let's choose the V key, which is the move tool, and change it to the corner right there. Let's click to our background, hit edit a new layer, and now let's start making our background. Alright, let's hold the I key, which is the eyedropper key, and choose the color blue. Now let's click the B key, which is our brush, as you can see here. Choose the hard round and make the smoothing maybe to 10%, so we can brush a little so much faster. Let's make it bigger, and let's paint our background. Alright, now let's add a new layer and let's start by making some bushes. Let's hold the I key and choose maybe this color. Choose the brush and let's decrease our brush a little bit, maybe like that. Alright, now let's make some bushes. Just very small and beautiful bushes. Okay, just like that. Now let's make another layer, and let's choose this color, and just by clicking this simple circles, we're making our bushes just like that. Let's make another layer now and choose maybe this color. Just like that. Alright. And now let's make our ground. So let's add a new layer. Let's choose this green color and go to your brush settings, and let's add some spacing just like that, and hold the shift key to make it horizontal perfectly, and let's just paint. As you can see, this is our ground. You can of course change the spacing as you like. Now let's make some bushes behind our ground. So let's go to the layer 4 and let's add a new layer, and let's choose this green color, and let's disable our spacing from the settings, and let's make some bushes like that. As you can see. And now let's click our ground layer and make bushes above it, just like that. Now let's make some black frame to our background. So let's add a new layer, and let's choose our black color. Let's increase our brush just like that and make some black frame like that. Let's disable our color palette so we can see here. Just like that. Very small but beautiful frame. To add some depth to our environment. Alright. Now let's add some clouds behind our bushes. So let's click the background and add another layer. Let's decrease the brush, maybe something like that. And let's enable our color palette again and choose the color white. Now let's add some highlights to our bushes. For example, maybe the sun is coming this way. We need to add some highlights to our bushes. So let's start with this bush, maybe right there. It's the layer 7. And let's click, go to the effects below and click inner shadow. Alright, this is our first inner shadow. Let's put it right here. Let's choose the blend mode to overlay. Let's put the color to full black. Okay. Let's decrease the opacity. And let's change the angle. This is the angle where the color is going. So we said the sun is hitting right here. So the angle will be like that. Let's put some distance and let's choose our size. All right, let's see without it, before and after. As you can see, it added some shadows to our bushes. All right, now let's hit the this sign key. It will add another shadow for you. For me, I have another one. Same thing, blend mode is set to overlay. And now let's choose white. All right. Now we need to add some highlights to our bushes. As you can see, it's saved in my PC. That's why it's right here. But we need to add some highlights like that. Let's choose the angle to be like that. All right. You can change the opacity as you like, the distance and the size. Yes, I think that's perfect. Let's add another inner shadow. Again, overlay and set to white. And now let's add these small highlights. As you can see, you can copy my settings if you want to achieve the same thing. The opacity, it's 38. The angle, let's put it to 20. The distance is 12 and the size is 8. If you want to increase the distance, it will be like that. It's not very beautiful. So let's go back. About the size, it's gonna make our bushes like that. We want some small size, as you can see here. Maybe we will put it like that, or maybe just like here. As you like, you can decrease or increase the distance for you. Now let's hit OK. Let's add some flowers to our bushes, shall we? So let's hit our ground layer, which is the layer 5, and added another layer. Let's choose the orange color, and let's go to our brush and make it very small. And now let's add some flowers like that. And as you can see, our environment is so much better now with this orange color. Now let's go back to our effects. We added them to our layer 7 bush. So this is our effect, so we can collapse it like that, and right click and copy layer style. And now let's add it to all our bushes. Let's add it to our flowers. Right click and click paste layer style. And as you can see here, all our effects copy it to the flowers. Let's collapse it. Let's add it to our ground also, and all other bushes. Click paste color, paste layer, as you can see here. Right click and paste layer style. And as you can see, our environment is so much better than before. Now let's add some effects to our clouds. So let's click the layer 9 and go to the effects and add some inner shadow. But this time we're gonna make one inner shadows, not three. So let's go to our blend mode and click normal. Now let's choose the blue. When you go out from the color picker, it instantly changes to the eyedropper tool. So let's choose our blue color, hit OK, and now let's change the angle, maybe something like that. Click the opacity to 100%. As you can see, it added some depth to our clouds. Now let's hit OK. Alright, now let's collapse this effects, and let's go to our layer 8, which is this black frame, and let's add some blur to it. So let's go to filter, blur, and Gaussian blur. Let's put it maybe to 9 and hit OK. And as you can see, our environment is looking alive now. We can make some further improvements. So let's go to let's disable our color palette and make this bushes fade away like it is so far from our ground. So let's go to our first bush, which is the layer 2, and added to it also some Gaussian blur. So let's add it maybe E3. Okay, I'm good with that. Let's also decrease the opacity a little bit, so it will be behind. All right, maybe that's good. Let's go to the layer 3. Let's also add some Gaussian blur, and let's put it maybe to 2. Hit OK, and also let's decrease the opacity. All right, looking good. And the layer 4 also, let's add some blur, very small blur, not 3 like that, maybe to 1, and hit OK. And as you can see, our ground appears so much closer now. Let's add that also to our clouds. Let's go to filter, blur, Gaussian blur, and maybe and now let's merge everything together. So click the layer 1 and then hold the shift key to the layer 8 and click merge layers. As you can see, this is our background, and if you can see here, there is some effects that ruins our background, so let's cut them. Let's click the letter M, which is the marquee tool, and let's crop just our background. And let's click the crop tool and hit enter, and enter again. As you can see, we deleted that effect, and now let's make our final touch. This is our layer, of course. Let's duplicate it by clicking Ctrl G, and this is our copy. Now let's go to filter, blur, Gaussian blur, and maybe let's choose maybe E38. Let's hit OK. And now let's decrease our opacity just like that. And as you can see, this made some glow effect to our background. This is without this glow effect, and this is with the glow effect. And now let's merge them together. So let's hold shift or control. Let's hold control for PC, command for Mac, because we only have one layer, and click merge layer. Let's double click it and let's name it. And this is our background. Congratulations on finishing your background. Now let's disable the background in the color palette. Go to File, Save As, and you can go to your maybe desktop, choose the JPG format and choose a name for it, and hit Save. Now I highly recommend to redo this background alone without watching me again, so you can remember and understand more all the techniques we made to finish and create this background with very simple colors and only circles. In this lecture, we're gonna make our second background, which is gonna be a more advanced forest landscape. So we need our canvas to work with. Let's go to File, New, and choose a 1920 pixels by 1080 pixels. Click Create. This is our canvas. And now let's import our color palette, which you can download it from the resources below. Let's make it bigger a little bit. Click V, which is the move tool, and move it to the top corner. Alright, let's make our new layer. Of course, you can choose your own colors, but for the purpose of this video, I'm gonna work with these colors. Alright, let's hold the I key, which is the eyedropper tool, and choose our blue color. Choose the paint bucket tool, which is the letter G, and paint our background. Let's make a new layer. Now let's choose the lasso tool, which is the polygon lasso tool, as you can see. And let's make our hills. Alright, let's choose maybe this color. Click G and paint it. Click Ctrl D to deselect it. Let's make a new layer. Click the lasso tool and let's repeat the same process. Let's choose this color. Click G and paint it. Ctrl D to deselect it. Let's add a new layer. Choose the polygon, mark lasso tool, and let's choose this color and paint it. Ctrl D to deselect it. Let's choose the lasso tool again and let's make it a little bit bigger, maybe like that. And click deselect. Alright, let's make a new layer. And let's choose this color. Alright, deselect it. Alright, those are our hills. Let's select them all by holding the Shift key. And let's choose the move tool and let's move them on the top a little bit. Just like that. Alright. Let's now make our rocks. So let's create a new layer. Let's choose this color. Alright. Let's choose our lasso tool. And let's just make some rocks. Alright, let's paint it. Ctrl D to deselect it. I don't like this one, so let's delete it just like that. Alright. Let's move it a little bit, just like that. Okay. Now let's add some trees to all our hills. So let's go to File, New, and maybe let's choose a 400 by 400 canvas and click Create. Let's make a new layer and let's choose the triangle tool right here and let's make a triangle. Alright, let's choose the color black and paint it, but we can't because it's a smart object, so let's click rasterize layer and paint it to black. Now this is going to be our brush, so we can paint with. And to make it our brush, so let's go to edit and click define brush set. Give it a name and click OK. But I already have it, so I will go to my canvas again, click the B, which is the brush tool, and here it is. I called it tree. Let's close this property section. Now let's choose this color, and this is our hill, our first hill, and let's make some small trees just like that. Alright, we can disable our color palette so you can see. Alright, let's move on to the second one. Let's choose our color. And just make some small trees to add some depth to our background. Alright, let's click now the third layer, choose our color, and let's make some trees. Okay, let's click the fourth one. Let's enable our color palette again. Let's choose this orange red color, and let's add some fruits to our rocks. So let's go to our hard round brush. Let's make it smaller. All right. And as you can see, our rocks looks so much better now. Okay, let's now add some inner shadow to all our hills and rocks. So let's go to our rocks here and click inner shadow. Let's choose the color white, hit OK, set it to overlay, and this is our settings that we can adjust. Alright, this is without it and with the glow effect. Let's now add some highlight. As you can see, just like that. Alright, hit OK, and now let's copy this layer style and give it to all our hills by clicking paste layer style. Alright, except the last one, we don't want to add any effects to it because it's far away from our camera, so we don't want to add any details for it. Alright, let's adjust this brightness in our Alright, let's adjust the brightness of our effects in these hills so it can look far away from our rocks right here. So let's decrease the opacity of our effects, hit OK. Double click again on our effects and let's decrease it a little bit. Alright, we can decrease the second layer again. We don't want too much details for it because it's far away. Alright, looking good so far. Let's collapse them. Let's add now some depth to our hills. So let's go, click the V key, and let's choose the third layer, added another layer for it, and put it as a child for our layer. I forgot what's its name, but I call it child anyway. Let's choose the gradient tool and let's choose the black color. As you can see here, let's decrease the opacity a little bit. Alright, let's add another one to the hill behind it. Alright, let's decrease the opacity just like that. Let's add another one to our second layer. Click Ctrl Z to go back. Just like that. Alright, we can decrease this opacity here. Looking good so far. Let's add some shadow for our hills. So let's add another layer. This is our third layer. So let's add a layer for it also as a child. And let's choose the lasso tool. Alright. Choose the gradient tool and let's make a gradient. Alright. Click Ctrl D to deselect it. And now let's decrease the opacity. Just like that. As you can see, to create this 3D depth effect, we can merge those layers now. Click them all and click Merge Layers. Let's go to our second layer, click New Layer, and it will be a child also. And let's repeat the same process. Click the lasso tool. Choose the gradient. Click Ctrl D to deselect it, and let's decrease the opacity. Just like that. Alright. Let's merge them all together by holding the Shift key and click Merge Layer. And the second one. Let's add it also for our hills right here. Choose the gradient and click Ctrl D to deselect it, and let's decrease the opacity. Okay. We can also add the one for this layer. So let's make it a child. choose the lasso tool, deselect it, and just like that. Okay, let's merge them together, all our layers. Click merge layers. So those are our 4 hills, and this is our rocks. Let's now add a river. So let's go and add a new layer. Let's choose this color and choose the brush. Let's choose the hard round brush, and let's go to the settings here and let's increase the spacing. All right, let's hold the shift key to make a straight line, just like that. All right, let's choose the V key, which is the move tool, and let's move it a little bit here. Now we don't want this shape, so we're gonna choose the invert of this shape. So let's click our layer and hold Control and click it. It will select our water, and let's invert this selection by holding the Shift, then Control, then I. It will invert our selection. Now let's make a new layer and choose the paint bucket tool and paint this water. Now let's click Ctrl D to deselect it, and let's delete our first water, we don't want it. And now let's click our invert water and click Ctrl T and click flip vertical. Now let's move it to the bottom. All right, hit enter, and this is our water, as you can see here. Okay, now let's add maybe a circle or rock here. So let's make a new layer, and let's choose the elliptical marquee tool, hold the shift key, and this is the selection of our rock. So let's choose our color, which is the same right here, and let's paint it. Click Ctrl D to deselect it, and let's move it with the move tool, which is the V key in your keyboard. Now let's duplicate our water by clicking Ctrl G, and let's move it a little bit down. Of course you can't see it right now, so let's hold the Control key and click our layer so we can select it and see it in the same time. Let's move it with the move tool with the arrow keys in your keyboard, just like that. All right, now let's invert the selection again. Click Shift Control I, and let's choose our rock layer and added a layer mask, and it will cut our rock with the water shape effect, as you can see here. Now this is our rock. Let's convert it to a smart object so we can use it. Now let's click our copy river layer, and let's make another selection. Just hold the Control key and click the invert selection again, which is the Shift Control I to make an invert selection again. and let's choose the color black. Let's choose the gradient tool. Let's add a new layer and let's make a simple gradient, as you can see. Now let's click Ctrl D to deselect it, and let's decrease the opacity significantly, as you can see here. Okay. Now let's duplicate it. Let's just choose the move tool and hold the alt key and click this effect, which is our river effect, and move it a little bit down, and let's do it again. As you can see here, this is our river. Let's decrease the opacity of each one. So the bottom one, which is gonna be the having the lower opacity. All right. And now let's select our water, the top layer, and let's give it the layer style, which is we did to our hills. And as you can see, this glow effect added to our water. All right. Now let's make some, let's also add it to our circle rock, as you can see here. All right. Now let's make some reflections. Let's make first the reflection of our circle of our rock in the water. So let's duplicate it by clicking Ctrl G and click Ctrl T and click flip vertical. Let's decrease the opacity. All right. Now let's add a layer mask. Let's choose the gradient tool and let's just delete this small. Okay, this is our reflection. Let's make it a smart object. Now let's add the reflection of our rocks. So let's select them, click Ctrl G, and let's click Ctrl T and click flip vertical. Hit enter, and now let's put them above our river and make this layer a child. All right. And let's decrease the opacity. Okay, let's merge all our river layers together. Select them all and click merge. Let's add a new layer. Choose the lasso tool and let's make a foreground for our background. Let's choose our dark color and let's choose a darker one and choose the paint bucket tool and paint it. Ctrl D to deselect it. Alright, this is our foreground. Now let's add some clouds. So let's go to our first layer, which is the blue background. Add a new layer. Choose the brush tool and let's choose the white color. And let's make some clouds. We can disable our color palette. Alright, those are our clouds. We can also make a second small cloud, which is I love so much. So let's make a new layer. And let's just make 3 clicks like that. Choose the rectangular marquee tool, make a selection, and hit delete. Click Ctrl D to deselect it, and let's make it smaller by clicking Ctrl T and hit enter. Click V to move it, and this is our small cloud. Now let's select our clouds, add a layer mask, choose the gradient with the color black, and let's make a small gradient just like that, as you can see. Also for our small cloud, just like that. Alright, now let's convert it to a smart object, the first cloud and the second cloud, and let's add some inner shadow to it. So let's choose our blue color, let's set it to normal, and this is our first cloud. Click copy layer style and paste it on our small cloud. Alright, now let's add a new layer. Let's choose our sky color and choose the gradient tool and make a gradient. But we're not gonna make it normal, but overlay. As you can see here, we can add a second gradient, and the sky looks so much better right now, as you can see. Let's also add a sun. So let's select our background, make a new layer, and let's click the elliptical marquee tool, hold the shift key. This is our sun. Choose the white color, choose the paint bucket tool and paint it. Click Ctrl D and let's move it. We can't move it because this effect is above it. So let's click Ctrl Z to replace it to its place. Now let's disable it so we can just move our sun. Alright, just like that. Let's put it again. Now let's add a layer mask to our sun. Choose the gradient and let's delete this small part, as you can see here. Alright, let's convert it to a smart object and let's add a outer glow. Set the blend mode to normal. Or you can just copy my settings. Also, I'm gonna add some drop shadow, but with the white color, and a maxed opacity. Alright, hit OK. This is our sun. Now let's make this small cloud also have some glow to it. So let's just duplicate it by clicking Ctrl G and go to Filter, Blur, Gaussian blur, and as you can see, hit OK, and now it has this glow effect. This is without the effect, and this with the glow effect. We can also decrease or increase the opacity as you like. Let's add now a big tree to our scene. Just let's make a new layer. Choose the lasso tool, and let's just make a big tree just like that. Alright, let's enable our color palette again, and let's choose a darker green. Choose the paint bucket tool and paint it. Alright, click Ctrl D to deselect it. Now let's click Ctrl T and click warp just to make it like that. Alright, hit enter, and this is our tree. Let's choose the lasso tool again. Let's choose the black color and the gradient tool. And let's make a new layer. Put the child for our tree. Click Ctrl D to deselect it, and let's repeat the same process. Right, we can also add it from the bottom. Let's also add it from the right side, and let's make another layer. Put it also a child. Let's choose the white color, and let's put it to overlay, as you can see here. Alright, this is our tree. Let's merge all the layers together. And let's put it above our foreground, just like that. Alright. Let's hold the Alt key, and let's make another tree, but let's put it behind our rocks, just like that. Alright. Let's add another one by holding the Alt key and put it here. Okay, let's select the big one and make another copy of it, but let's put it above our foreground, and let's add to it a color overlay, and let's choose this color. Hit OK. This is our big tree. Let's click Alt and make another one here. Now let's merge all the layers together by holding the Shift key and click Merge Layers. And let's make another copy of it by clicking Ctrl G, go to Filter, Blur, Gaussian Blur, click OK, and let's decrease the opacity a little bit. Let's now merge the layers together. Click Merge Layers. Let's disable our background here and go to File, Save As, and you can save it to your desktop, for example, and choose the JPEG format and give it a name and hit Save. And there you go. This is our background looking perfect. You can experiment with all your colors. I hope you learned so much from this lecture and all these techniques, and I will see you in the next one. In this lecture we're gonna make a different type of backgrounds, which is gonna be a platformer game background. So let's go to File, New, and choose E1920 pixels by 1080 pixels and hit Create. This is our canvas. You can download the color palette again from the resources below and grab it to our project. Let's put it in the top corner. Let's make it smaller. Hit enter. And now let's make a new layer. Let's choose our first color. Choose the paint bucket tool and paint our background. Alright, let's make another layer and choose the darker color. And let's choose the lasso tool, which is the letter L in your keyboard. Hold Shift and let's make some buildings. Keep holding the Shift key while you're working. And let's choose our color and choose the paint bucket tool and let's paint it. Click Ctrl D to deselect it. And now let's make another layer. Let's choose the rectangular marquee tool, which is the letter M in your keyboard, and let's make a selection. Just like that. Let's choose the darker color and choose the paint bucket tool and paint it. Click Ctrl D to deselect it. Now let's make another layer. Let's choose our darker color and let's make it a child by holding the Alt key. And let's choose our gradient tool and make a gradient, as you can see, and a little brighter one here. Alright, we can decrease the opacity. Perfect. Now let's merge them together. Let's choose the V key and move it here. Let's hold the Alt key so we can make a copy and move it in the same time. And let's make it bigger by clicking the Ctrl T. Hold the Shift key and let's make it wider. Okay. Now we don't want these gaps between them, so we need them behind each other. So let's select this one and this one. Let's put it behind it. All right. Now let's merge them all together by holding the shift key. Now let's make another layer. Let's make another selection by clicking the M key in your keyboard. Let's choose the darker color, choose the paint bucket tool and paint it. Click Ctrl D to deselect it, and let's repeat the same process. Make another layer, make it a child by holding the Alt key, and let's choose our darker color, choose the gradient tool and make a gradient. Let's decrease the opacity. Let's make another layer, also make it a child, but now let's make it with the color white, and let's make it an overlay, and let's decrease the opacity. Alright, let's now merge them together. Hold the V key to move it. Hold the Alt key and let's make some copies while moving them. Click Ctrl T to make it bigger, the Shift key to make it wider here, like that. Okay. Let's repeat the same process. Let's make it above it. Okay, perfect. Let's now merge them all together. Alright, now let's make our foreground. So let's make a new layer. Let's choose this darker color, choose our lasso tool, hold the Shift key, and let's make our ground. Choose the paint bucket tool and paint it. Click Ctrl D to deselect it, and this is our ground. Now let's make another layer and choose this brighter color. Let's choose our lasso tool and repeat the same process. Hold the Shift key, and let's invert the selection by clicking the Shift Ctrl I, choose the paint bucket tool and paint it. Click Ctrl D to deselect it, and let's make it a child. Alright, This is our ground. Now let's add some gradient to all our layers. So let's choose this darker one, choose the gradient tool, and let's make a gradient just like that. Perfect. Now let's repeat the same process for all our other layers. Just make another layer, make it a child, and let's decrease the opacity. Same process. We can zoom in by clicking the Z key. Alright, now let's add some fog effect just by duplicating our first layer. So let's click Ctrl G to duplicate it, and let's make it a child for our first layer, and let's decrease the opacity just like that. We can put it behind or above our gradient as we like. Click Ctrl G to duplicate it, make it a child again. You can choose if you want to make it behind or above our building. Let's make it a child again. And let's decrease the opacity. Let's now merge all our layers. Alright, this is our ground. Let's make another layer which is gonna be a child. Let's choose our darker color. Alright, let's grab the gradient tool. Let's make a small gradient here. Let's choose the rectangular marquee tool. Let's make a selection here. Choose the gradient again and make a bigger gradient. Click Ctrl D to deselect it. Also, we can make a gradient from the sides. Now we can merge our grounds layer, and let's add some inner shadow. So let's go to the inner shadow. Let's choose this darker color and make our inner shadow. Let's also add some highlight. As you can see here, you can always copy my settings, there is no problem with that. And let's add some outer glow. Okay, now let's copy our layer style and paste it on the other buildings. But for our buildings, we don't want outer glow, so let's disable it by clicking this eye. And let's reduce our effects. Alright, let's move on to the next one. Double click to our effects. Alright. We don't want to add this effect to the last background because it's far away. We don't need to add any details for it. Let's now add our foreground layer here. So let's add a new layer. Choose our lasso tool. Hold the shift key and let's make just a simple foreground. Alright, let's color it with our darker color. Choose the paint bucket tool and color it. Click Ctrl D to deselect it. Alright, this is our ground, our foreground. Let's add some details for our buildings here. So for example, for this one, let's move it a little bit lower. Okay, and let's make a new layer. Let's choose the darker color of it. Let's choose the marquee tool and let's make a selection just like that. Hold the shift key to make another selection. Okay, choose the paint bucket tool and let's paint it. Let's now change it to the gradient and choose the darker color and let's make a small gradient just like that from the bottom and from the top, and click Ctrl D to deselect it. And let's reduce its opacity. Alright, now let's move it. Click the V key. Let's hold the Alt key and move it to the other buildings. Let's click Ctrl T and let's flip it horizontally, for example. Let's make another one. Click Ctrl T and let's flip it vertically. Alright. Let's merge all these layers together. Alright, let's click our buildings and add a new layer so we can add some fog effect. So let's go to our lasso tool and choose the lasso tool with the free-handed. Let's keep clicking to our mouse, as you can see here. Choose the gradient tool. Let's choose the color white and make a gradient. Alright, click Ctrl D to deselect it. Now let's go to filter, blur and motion blur. Alright, hit OK. Let's go to filter, blur now and Gaussian blur. And let's reduce her opacity. Alright, let's make a copy and put it behind the other layers. We can't see it, so let's click Ctrl T and move it here. Click enter. Alright, looking good so far. Now let's make our player. So let's click our ground and make a new layer. Let's choose the marquee tool, hold the shift to make a perfect square. Let's choose the color by holding the I key and change it to the paint bucket tool. Click Ctrl D to deselect it. And now let's make another layer. Let's choose our brush. Let's choose the hard round. Alright. And let's give it some eyes. Let's zoom in a little bit by clicking the Z key. Change to the brush. Let's first choose another darker color. Now let's choose our erase, which is the E key. And let's delete this part. Okay. We can make it smaller by clicking the Ctrl T. Okay, this is our player. Let's give him the layer style. So let's click paste layer style. Also for his eyes and mouth. Alright. Let's now merge its layers. And let's put it here, for example. Alright, let's give him a shadow. So let's make a layer, but above him, let's choose our polygon lasso tool. Let's choose this darker color and the gradient tool. And let's just make a gradient. Click Ctrl D to deselect it, and this is our gradient. Let's add a layer mask and delete this small part from here. Just like that. Alright. Now let's make a new layer and added some lighting spawning effect here. So let's choose our rectangular marquee tool, which is the letter M. Alright, let's choose the white color and our gradient, and let's make a gradient. Click Ctrl D to deselect it. And now let's make a double of it. So let's hold the Alt key. And let's hold the Alt key and make a third one here. Alright. Let's merge the three together. And let's make a copy of it. And this copy, we're gonna give it a blur and Gaussian blur, as you can see here. And let's hit OK. Let's select our foreground, make another layer. Let's choose her color. And let's make some trees by clicking our rectangular marquee tool. And we're just gonna make simple tree. Let's choose the gradient, the paint bucket tool. Click Ctrl D to deselect it. Let's make another layer. Choose our lasso tool. Hold the shift key. Just like that. Let's paint it. Click Ctrl D to deselect it. Let's repeat the same process. Another layer. Lasso tool. Hold the shift key. Click Ctrl D to deselect it. Alright, let's merge these three layers together. And this is our tree. Okay, let's choose the V key, which is the move tool. Let's hold, let's move it here a little bit. You can move it using your arrow keys in your keyboard. Okay, let's hold the Alt key and let's make another one here. We can disable our color palette. Let's click Ctrl T and flip it horizontally. Okay. And let's make another one here, but we're gonna put it behind our ground. So let's grab it and put it behind our ground. Just like that. And let's decrease her opacity. Alright, let's make another one. Maybe here. Okay. Now let's merge all our layers together. Click merge. Let's go to the effects below and let's choose color balance. We can change the colors of our background after we made it, as you can see here. You can change your colors as you like. Let's see it without our color balance and with our color balance. Alright, we can also add some hue here. Let's increase our saturation maybe, or decrease it as you like. You can change also the colors. And we can also make some brightness and contrast. Let's make it like it's in the night. Alright. Let's close our property section. Let's merge them all together. Let's make another copy of it. And as we learned, this is our last step. Let's make a Gaussian blur and let's decrease the opacity. Now let's merge them together and let's add a text. Why not? Pick a name, maybe Square Boy. Alright, we can enable our color palette again and choose this color. Okay, it's already chosen. Let's add another text. Call it boy, and let's choose this pink color. Hit enter, and let's just move it here. And as you can see, we can also make another one. Call it play maybe. Alright, and you can add more options here. Let's now merge all our layers together. Let's disable our color palette and background. Let's go to File, Save As always, Desktop, GPEG, give it a name and hit Save. I hope you learned a lot from these techniques that we worked with in this lecture, and I will see you in the next one. Hi, this is a bonus lecture from my other course, Learn 2D Game Environment Graphic Design for Beginners, that you can check out if you want. But for now, enjoy the lecture. In this first lecture, we're gonna learn how to make the background for your games. So let's go to File, New, and let's make a canvas with 7680 pixels by 2189 pixels. And the reason why we're gonna make a big canvas like this, it's because that's a two 16 by 9 canvases, so the player can run basically twice the width of your screen. And we want of course the background to be bigger than our camera's game. We don't want to make a 1920 pixels by 1080 pixels because the background will fit perfectly the camera of your game. It will look ugly and small. So as I said, we want the background to be bigger than your game's camera. So let's hit create, and please download the color palette from the resources below. Let's shrink it a little bit by clicking Ctrl T, drag it to the left, and let's make a new layer. Click I to choose the first color, and then we're gonna click the letter G, and it's the paint bucket. Let's color our first background. Let's add a new layer. Let's zoom in a little bit. Just click Ctrl plus or hit the letter Z. Click the lasso tool, which is the letter M. Drag and release. This is the shape of our building. Let's click I to choose the second color. Click J and paint the first building. Let's click Ctrl D to deselect it. And I think it's small a little bit, so let's make it bigger. Click Ctrl T and resize it a little bit. Now the idea is to make many different buildings. Just we're gonna duplicate them. Click the V key, which is the move tool. Let's move the first building to the right. And the way we're gonna duplicate a layer is by clicking Ctrl J. But there is another way, so let's click Ctrl Z to go back. And the second way is by holding the key Alt and drag it a little bit to the left. And as you can see, he made a copy of our layer. And now let's repeat the same process over and over again to make different buildings, as you can see here. And now let's select them all by clicking the Alt key and right click and click merge together. Now let's add some details to our first building's background just by selecting the rectangular marquee tool, which is the letter M, and hit delete. And as you can see, we made a little detail. So let's make some different details to all the buildings. Just click and hold and delete. Also, we can use the lasso tool to make some beautiful details. Just very simple, small and simple details to all the buildings. This is gonna be the farthest background from our game's camera, so we're not gonna see too much of it. Let's decrease the opacity a little bit. Also the fill. And now let's copy our first background and make it a mask for our buildings. Just hold the Alt key and you can see a little black arrow that pops out. Let's decrease the opacity a little bit. And as you can see, this layer above our buildings make it look like it's invisible or see-through. This can allow it. There is a little bit of fog effect, which is very nice. Let's make a new layer. Let's choose the pink color and right click on the paint bucket tool so we can bring the gradient tool. Hold and release. Let's decrease the opacity a little bit. And as you can see, it's basically some neon effect, because as we said before, we're gonna make a futuristic city. Let's add a new layer, and now let's make the second buildings layer. The same process, click the rectangular marquee tool, which is the letter M, hold and release to make our first building shape. Choose the third color by clicking the letter I, which is the eyedropper tool. Right click to get the paint bucket and paint our first building. Click Ctrl D to deselect it. Now let's make some windows. Click M and make a square selection, a little square selection. Let's choose the white color. Click G and then paint it. Ctrl D to deselect it. Now let's add some outer glow effects. Go to the effects below. Click outer glow. And as you can see, this window pop out. Let's choose the white color. Click OK. And there is some settings you can mess around. Choose your settings and then click OK. And as you can see, this is a little bit of glow effect. Go to filter, blur, then Gaussian blur. Let's make it 2.9 for example. Hit OK, and now let's go back to blur, motion blur. Let's make it 7. And now we're gonna duplicate this little window to make more windows. Of course, you can increase or decrease the size of it by clicking Ctrl T. Also, you can decrease the opacity a little bit. And finally, click them all by holding the Shift key and click Merge Together. And as you can see, this is our first building. Let's repeat the same process. And duplicate it to make more buildings. Let's add some inner shadow by going to the effects below. Let's choose our color and then choose a little bit lighter color. Click OK. Make some changes in the options as you can see here, and there is a little bit of inner shadow as you can see in the buildings. Hit OK. And now let's make some details. Click M, which is the rectangular marquee tool. Make some selections and then hit delete. Of course, you can add some details by not deleting the selection but painting it with the paint bucket tool. And now let's repeat the same process. Duplicate the first background layer, put it above our buildings, as you can see here. Also duplicate the neon background. Let's decrease the fill a little bit. Let's also decrease the opacity of our buildings. And here is a rule of thumb that you need to remember for all your 2D background art. Things get darker and bigger the closer the camera they get, and brighter and smaller the far they get. Now let's add a new layer. Make a selection with the rectangular marquee tool. Choose the color and duplicate the buildings again. Make some details. Of course, you can have as many layers as you want, but we don't want to slow down the user's machine. Now let's make some windows. Make a new layer. Click M to make a selection, and then choose the pink color. Go to the paint bucket tool, right click and choose the gradient color and hold and release. Make some painting. And now let's add some outer glow effect to our window. You can choose a brighter color, adjust the settings a little bit. And then click OK. Let's give it some blur. Go to filter, blur, motion blur, and let's make it 5. Now let's duplicate it by holding the Alt key. Also, you can make different shapes of windows. Just make a selection and delete in the middle of it. Also, you can make a window with different color, like the blue. Now let's add some inner shadow to our buildings. Choose maybe a brighter color than our building's color. Hit OK. Adjust the settings a little bit and then hit OK. Let's make a copy of our neon pink background. Make it above our buildings. adjust the opacity and fill a little bit. And now let's merge our backgrounds, the first 4 backgrounds, then the second 3 backgrounds, then the third 3 backgrounds. And as you can see here, we have 3 different buildings background. And now let's export them. Go to File, Export, Layers to Files, and then choose the last one, PNG24. Make sure to hit the visible layers only. Choose a name, maybe layer or background for each layer. Browse where you want to save it, and then hit Run. You have to export them all separately because you want to make a parallax effect for your game. Thanks for watching this lecture, and I will see you in the next one. Congratulations on finishing the course. I hope you learned a lot from all these techniques, tips and tricks. And now I recommend to repeat every background alone by yourself without watching me again, so you can understand everything clearly. And I suggest you apply any technique that you liked of any background to another one. For example, you learned this glowing effect light. You can add it to this background as a sun shaft like I did here, as you can see. You can also make some color changes like I did for both these backgrounds with the hue and saturation and the brightness, as we learned. Also in this background I changed the shape of the river. I added in some birds, I make some effects, I changed more the colors and the brightness. And finally, I recommend making a background alone from your imagination and apply everything that you learned. And this is the only way to improve your skills, is by practicing every day to improve yourself and apply all the techniques that you learned from me in every background. Other than that, thank you so much for buying this course, and I wish you good luck with your game dev journey.